my mind, I was able to think and process. And if I let him get back up, he's going to get back up. I was like, let me finish this right now. And I caught him with that left hook, and then I caught him again with that right hook just to make sure the job was done because I was calculating his hands wasn't touching the ground and his knees weren't touching the ground, but I know he was still going down. To make sure he wasn't getting back up, I had to let those last two off, man.
Combat Sports Report. Only on SportsGrid.
He's just only 2,300 points behind. So even if he does win at Memphis, he's still going to be behind Scottie Scheffler in the points by 300. So why? I mean, I want Scottie Scheffler to show up in Memphis, but does he need to? If Rory's not showing up and the third place guy, even if he wins, isn't going to pass him?
The Smiley Show. Only on SportsGrid.
No superstar wants to go to Portland there, so you go, oh, well, Dame actually wants to be back here, and this is going to hurt us. It sort of brings back those vibes where Kobe Bryant was in L.A. Great basketball player, horrendous basketball team, but maybe he could sell a couple extra seats and be a star in the building. That's Dame. And also from a perspective of what Dame wants, Dame just doesn't care about championships, and that's okay. Like, he makes a lot of money. He can do that and continue to lose in Portland. Can have it both ways, I guess.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Big Fish is the best player in the WNBA. She is running away with the MVP award. Why is that? Caitlin Clark, injured. Asia Wilson, not playing at Asia Wilson level, but it's more about the fact about what's around her has been an issue. So to me, Fish is almost like the MVP because everyone else has gone down in some way, shape, or form.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning. Welcome to Newswire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, back with you for our Thursday edition of the show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Plenty to get to here on the program. The latest in the National Football League from training camp, a potential injury to a starting quarterback. We'll get to that in just a sec. Also, Major League Baseball with Danny Burke and Matt Lutovsky. Also, we've got Adam Kaufman on the show as well. So diving into the latest news, notes, and information as it pertains to sports betting. And we'll start off with one of the big stories of the day. In fact, we've got several, but the biggest one of the day is coming from New York, where Justin Fields, starting quarterback of the New York Jets, left practice early with an injury to his foot. There are several reports that say it is a toe issue, and other reporters in New York are saying that at practice he was simply stepped on. There is no fracture, a possible dislocation. We will see. We're not going to speculate, of course, on injuries, but this probably keeps him off the field, at least for the time being. Let's get the very latest from head coach Aaron Glenn on Fields' injury status.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and knock this out now. Obviously, Tyrod went down with a toe injury on his right, on the right side. But Justin went down with toe injury on the right side of his foot. Listen, I don't know the severity of the injury, but I do know it's a toe on his right side. And listen, we have a outstanding backup in Tyrod, who's been in this league for around 14 years. So the leadership that he brings, listen, we're all good. We're all good. So. I thought today's practice was really good, especially for the defense. The defense came out energized because they know that the offense kind of took it to them yesterday. All right, so the defense came out and did a really good job. And, again, we're going to our third day, going tomorrow, and that'll be good. You know what? I really have to look at the tape. I know it's a quick throw. I'm assuming someone stepped on his toe. It had to be because of the nature of the call that we had as far as offensive play call. So, again, I want to look at the tape and be sure.
And we'll wait for an update later today. Meanwhile, could there be a massive update on your Sunday NFL Red Zone watching? Seems to be a possibility that the NFL Red Zone could be picked up by ESPN Plus or even their new direct-to-consumer app, and it would be a separate fee to pay for NFL Red Zone. It would be part of ESPN's package, but it no longer would be, of course, on NFL Network. stay tuned. We'll see if this ends up happening this season. Billions of dollars in sale money, by the way, potentially for the NFL Red Zone. All right, now let's get to the National Football League. In the very latest, Joe Burrow looking for a new contract with the Cincinnati Bengals. He and all the other Bengals who are sitting out currently say he's disappointed with the outcome thus far. No new contract for Burrow. We'll see if that happens in the future. Also, the starting quarterback for the New York Giants appears to be Russell Wilson going into the season. Brian Daboll says that as camp begins, he will take the first snaps. Cardinals first rounder Walter Nolan III is sidelined with a calf injury. Jonathan Gannon says he'll miss some time, and it could even be into the regular season, which would be sad for them. And also the Green Bay Packers say they received a record $432 million in revenue sharing this past year, considering the salary cap is nowhere near 300. That means that the Packers and everybody else in the NFL probably doing very well. All right, let's get to some Major League Baseball action. We've got Freddie Freeman with a walk-off single in the ninth inning. The Dodgers beat the Twins by a final of 4-3. Tyler Glasnow, of course, back on the mound once again for the Dodgers after the game. Very happy with the outcome.
Excellent tonight. Just kind of navigating through their lineup. You had an entire pitch mix working. Was this just kind of maybe one of the best you felt since coming off the IL?
Yeah, I'd say everything was working. I think not falling into too many predictable patterns and then kind of switching it up later in the game. But physically and stuff-wise, I felt great.
Just attacking them. I mean, was this one of those games where I was kind of game planned to go through like your entire pitch mix, or you had like the feel on your pitches that kind of just was allowing you to execute?
Yeah, I think it was kind of just dependent on feel. Like in the beginning, changed up a little bit towards the end, but yeah, just I think it kind of, as it was going on, certain pitches felt better. Curveball started getting sharp towards the end, so I was kind of just like spamming that a lot more. And Dalton did a great job. We got into a nice rhythm, so it was good.
Marlins take another series, this time over the San Diego Padres. Sandy Alcantara, 7 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 3-2 the final. Meanwhile, Vinny Pasquantino hit 2 home runs. The Royals beat the Cubs 8-4. It was not the best start of the season for Chicago Cubs starter Colin Ray, who pitched 5 innings and gave up 5 earned runs. Here's Craig Counsell on that pitching performance.
I mean, I thought Colin pitched well. I mean, you know, the home run in the first is a legit homer. That's, you know, we gave him an extra run there. And then the other 2 homers are, you know, the Perez homer is not a home run. And the last Pasquantino homer is probably still in the ballpark, and Pete probably catches it. So, you know, it's tough to like blame the pitcher, and they did a good job of pulling the ball in the air. It was a day where you were rewarded for putting the ball in the air, and they did that. They did that part of the game certainly better than us.
What made Lugo challenging?
Yeah, I mean, his challenge is just he's got a very you know, expansive pitch mix, and you never really feel like you can sit on anything. And yeah, he pitched well. Did a nice job.
Meanwhile, the New York Mets sweep the Los Angeles Angels in that 3-game series they played. Last night's final was 6-3. So the Mets certainly back on the right track in the National League East. The game-winning shot, so to speak, came off the bat of Pete Alonso, who hit yet another home run. This was a 3-run shot, and Alonso says had the Mets feeling good.
Yeah, obviously hitting a big homer there. Guys on base is obviously enjoyable and fun, and yeah, I mean, that one felt really good. And then honestly, I'm more satisfied with kind of like that inside out single my last at bat. So I mean, really, if I'm staying inside the ball and staying in a big part of the field, if that's my miss, then I'm in a really good spot. So I mean, the homer obviously is super great, but personally, like when I'm hitting the ball to the big part of the field, that's when I feel good. So today was great, and I'm gonna enjoy the off day and get back to it on whatever day, Friday, I guess. Yeah.
Light slate of baseball, as Pete mentioned today. Meanwhile, the Yankees defense continues to fail them. 4 errors. The Blue Jays win another game against New York, 8-4 the final. After the game, Aaron Boone certainly watched the game, saw the defense not play well, but says they are better than they've showed.
Look at the defense, 4 errors tonight. Just what happened with the defense?
Yeah, just not good enough. And you know, look, I think we have a very good defensive club, but clearly in the 7 games we've played up here, not giving them extra outs, whether it's through error or not making a play that we need to make, that's cost us in these two series up here where we really hurt. So we've got to obviously tighten it up. Confident we will. We'll continue to work at it. We have good defenders here, but tonight was obviously a rough night for us.
Why do you think we haven't seen it consistently with the defense over the last couple of weeks?
I think it's here, and I think it's in this building we haven't played well. The defense was good down in Atlanta. Again, we've had a couple players go through it a little bit, but overall we should be moving forward a good defensive club. We need to be, but, it's this series and the last series here where just too many outs given.
Red Sox defeat the Phillies 9-8, the final there. Good news for Carlos Narvaez. He had a 2-run home run. That turns out to be the game winner. Tigers lose again to the Pittsburgh Pirates, 6-1 the final there. And the Astros finish off the Diamondbacks and maybe finish off their season. 3-game sweep as Houston beats Arizona, final 4-3. Matt Lutovsky joins us next for Sporting News with the latest in Major League Baseball. Don't go away.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I sit with my team that is absolutely, stench. And then I watch the world champs suck this bad. I enjoy every second of it. I hope they lose every night. And, I'm really used to losing. It's been going on for 55 years. So I don't want to hear it about your problems with that cushy Dodger ownership group.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. Big weekend of baseball coming up, and of course the trade deadline coming up next Thursday as well. Matt Lutovsky joins us here on the show, and Matt, no trades thus far, only the Devers trade from a little bit over a month ago. Here, baseball's been relatively quiet, and I'll assume that will change. But let's go over some of the potential buyers or sellers in baseball. We'll start off with a definitive seller. That's the Colorado Rockies. But my gosh, they really took it to the Cardinals this week, and certainly St. Louis, we did not think going into the season had any shot at making the postseason. But at this point, would it be surprising to see them move some pieces here on with the trade deadline?
Yeah, I mean, they're a tough team. It feels like they're just in the middle. Even if you make the playoffs, are you really going to make any noise if you got there? I don't think so. Obviously, they might feel differently, but they're also a team that feels like, hey, they need some hitting and they need some pitching. What do you do? And it might just make more sense to sell. and just say, you know what, we had a better run than we thought this year. We like our pieces. We think we can, sort of make some deals, improve overall for the long term, and come back next year. But obviously that's a proud franchise. That those are some proud fans. So, I mean, I could really see them going either way. I mean, it might sound silly, but it might depend on how this weekend goes for them. It really might come down to where they're looking at as we get even closer to the deadline. So they're one of those weird teams that I could see going either way right now and just trying to improve slightly around the margins, or if they, get a good offer for one of their pieces right now, going ahead and making that deal.
Yeah, that does make sense. Meanwhile, the NL West tightens up. Padres lose 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. Diamondbacks get swept. So that puts the Dodgers back in the seat that they want to be in. 60-43 now on the season. San Diego and San Francisco sort of neck and neck here, Matt, as we look at it. But I think that we probably have the fork in the Diamondbacks, I would guess, after this week.
I think so. And they're obviously a team that, I mean, almost any time you listen to stuff about the MLB trade deadline, you read stuff, like they're one of the most prominent teams featured in what they're going to do when they start selling, who's going to get some of their pieces. So, yeah, I think that we kind of firmly know where they're at. Obviously, the Dodgers, I mean, they're going to be buyers. They're looking to acquire and just continuing to get stronger and stronger and stronger. They're already one of the best teams in the league. And they got to feel really good about the position they're in right now. They hold a strong first place. Glasnow's looked really good in his 3 starts since coming back. So, they're just kind of onward and upward. They're just improving, filling in the cracks where they need it. I think they're in a real strong position, and they should, be the leaders in that NL West. We've talked about that division quite a bit, and how, we both kind of are looking at the Giants and we're looking at the Padres, and these teams aren't going away, and they're very good teams. I expect them both to be buyers as well, and to try to improve and make a run. But in terms of winning that division, it really feels like it would take something really, really catastrophic for the Dodgers to lose it at this point.
Yep, would agree there. All right, so it seems like Detroit wins all of Tariq Skubal's starts, and then you wonder if they're going to win the rest. It's kind of how it's going lately. They lose again to the Pirates. I mean, I'm not really concerned here, Matt. I'm sure that they're just going through it right now, and eventually they'll get it going. And plus, I'm sure they're going to get a boost at the deadline here next week.
Yeah, agreed. Look, 1-9 in the last 10. They struggled going into the break. They struggled coming out of the break. And, not playing very close games against the Pirates, which is a little worry. But like you said, it's different when Skubal's on the mound. He's carrying them right now. Every team has a scuffle at some point in the season. The Tigers are just going through theirs. And they're still up 8 games in the division. They're still in great shape. So they're just a team, again, that's probably going to look to improve here, there at the deadline, maybe try to get, some relief arms. I know they're looking at some of the Twins pitchers that are out there, might be looking at some of the Marlins pitchers, just something like that. Get a little bit stronger in that rotation to feel good behind Skubal going into playoff series. But they're still in a pretty good position right now. I don't think anyone can question that with the lead they built up for themselves. And playing in the division they're in, that gives them a little bit of a cushion too. No team, I don't know if any other team in that division has a positive run differential. And they're just, kind of almost coasting to some degree right now. But yeah, you don't want to get, too complacent, because you need to be sharp going into the playoffs.
Cleveland seems like, Matt, they put themselves at least back in the idea of sticking around with beating the Orioles down over the last few days. I mean, I don't think they're going to win the division, and I think the wild card is a long shot. But, they're doing better than Kansas City and Minnesota, so there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And they're the type of team that just kind of finds a way to win, especially late in the year. We've seen that from them in years past. A solid team, a team that I wouldn't be surprised made, some minor moves here and there to improve and try to make a run at that wild card spot. Maybe somewhat similar to the Cardinals. Even if they get in, are they really making a lot of noise? I don't know. I don't think so. But obviously, that's no reason to not go for it and get in the playoffs. We've seen crazy things happen all the time in the playoffs if you get a hot rotation at the right time. But yeah, they're the type of team that I expect to kind of make some improvements. They seem to be separating a little bit. Them, the Royals, the Twins were all really bunched up, just sort of leapfrogging each other here and there throughout much of the first half. But they might be breaking away a little bit from that pack. I don't know where that gets them in the end, but it's enough to make them interesting and a fun team to watch down the stretch, I think.
So the Blue Jays, we wake up this morning, Matt, they're the biggest favorite they've been to win the division all season. This is it. On FanDuel, they're minus 130 today. It comes off their win over the Yankees yesterday. Yankees are now plus 125. Yankees and plus money, that's rare these days. You don't see that, but I guess you just kind of got to go with that. The Red Sox, played okay yesterday. They've fallen back to earth. Tampa Bay's hanging around. They'll probably add. They'll probably subtract. Baltimore season is over. So, gosh, I feel like, Matt, this is tough to call. I think this is going down to the end.
Yeah, I think so too. I think maybe some people expected the Blue Jays, okay, that was a fun story, fun first half story. Let's get serious in the second half. And they just came out hot and kept playing good ball, kept winning games. And it certainly doesn't seem like they're going away. We know they're a team that wants to win, and I think is gonna make some moves to try to continue winning. And the question, I think, really is more about what can the Yankees do to get better to catch them? What can Boston do to get better to catch them? Certainly, you look at those odds, and it's kind of enticing to take those bigger market teams. Anytime you see them, like you said, the Yankees, especially with plus money, it gets enticing. But I don't think Toronto's just going away. They're a solid team. They play good defense. Yeah, they could probably use a bat. We'll see if they can get something done and make that move. I mean, big series this weekend, 4-gamer, I believe, against the Tigers. It's going to be a big one for both teams, fun one to watch. It's going to tell us a lot about both teams. So I think that's gonna matter going into the trade deadline, maybe a little bit what these teams decide to do and what they target around the deadline.
Agreed. Should be a fun weekend of baseball, Matt. Thanks for previewing it. We'll catch up again next week here on Newswire. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Up next, SportsGrid Sound Off. We'll head back to NFL training camp, and we return right after these messages. So,
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I sit with my team that is absolutely, stench. And then I watch the world champs suck this bad. I enjoy every second of it. I hope they lose every night. And, I'm really used to losing. It's been going on for 55 years. So I don't want to hear it about your problems with that cushy Dodger ownership group.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. NFL training camps are underway. The biggest story of the day, in case you missed it, is Justin Fields, quarterback of the New York Jets, leaving practice with a toe issue. Don't have the full rundown as to what it pertains just yet, but on Pharrell Coast to Coast, I'm quite sure he'll have the update there. Let's get back to training camp. We'll hear from Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, and Bills quarterback Josh Allen in this edition of the SportsGrid Sound Off. Let's begin with the Philadelphia Eagles and the upcoming season, which includes, of course, those shiny Super Bowl rings. I don't know if you've seen those, but like they move and do stuff I've never seen before. Needless to say, the tush push is back. So is Hurts at training camp. And based on what Nick Sirianni said last week and what Jalen Hurts is saying this week, it feels like the Eagles are getting ready to push for another championship.
Well, it's been a journey in itself. You know, when you embark on a new season, you embark on something new. It's a complete reset. And that's something that Coach Patullo has established, and that's something that I'm very encouraged by, something I can really appreciate. Because every time we come in here, you know, you got to be able to turn the page. And so, you know, we look back, and it was a very, very good spring, very, very good spring. And, you know, that's past us. And so now it's purely focused on having a really good training camp, building a great foundation, and continue to build on the chemistry with my teammates, with our team, and with the coaches.
Jalen, it feels like all offseason a main topic was where do you rank amongst your peers at quarterback? Is that something you pay attention to? And does it matter to you when sometimes these lists have you maybe lower than?
I'm just focused on being the best that I can be.
So you don't pay attention to the list or anything?
Purely focused on being the best I can be.
I have a feeling Jalen Hurts wants to be the best he can be going into the season. All right, now let's get to Lamar Jackson. Of course, the Ravens still searching for that Super Bowl ring for Lamar. Another year for him, 1 year, of course, after getting Derrick Henry. The Ravens again this offseason, seemingly upgrading the offense, upgrading the defense as well. Lamar, after 1 day at practice, unsurprisingly says he likes what he sees on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I say that every year though, but yeah, man, we got a great group of guys, great wide receiving core, great running backs, great tight ends, great offensive line. We got the same guys back. Probably one guy missing out the O-line. Defense is looking incredible as always. Man, we're looking great on paper, like I said, but we're gonna see when the time comes.
Todd Monken, how important is that for when you take the field today? You know each other.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty much knowing what Coach thinks, and like I just said earlier, you know, I pretty much try different things. So he gonna coach me. You know, he want me to do certain things what he has designed. Just got to follow suit, and it's pretty good. You know, just piggyback off of each other is great. It's great to do.
Good stuff from Lamar Jackson. Now, in case you missed it yesterday, you may have seen that picture of Josh Allen at training camp being hoarded by fans to sign autographs. Feels like from the video he signed like every single one. Well, maybe that's part of this new Hard Knocks show. Well, the Buffalo Bills will be featured on Hard Knocks, and so will Allen for the first time. He talked about what the experience has been like thus far early on and what it will look like in the preseason.
I mean, I think it's kind of a wash, in my opinion. Like, we have to go out there and feel like we're still being ourselves and keep the main thing, and that's coming out here, building our football team, trying to be the best players that we can be. You know, and I think it is Coach McDermott's hit it pretty on the head of just like, this is what, you know, a good organization looks like, and people are going to get a sneak peek into that and just how we operate. So again, you can kind of think two ways about it, but we're taking, you know, the way of like, hey, let's do what we do, and whatever is shown is shown.
So when you try to limit what you say, like fewer F's.
Yeah, try not to cuss as much. I mean, I know it's HBO, so I'm sure it goes on there if they wanted to. But at the same time, you know, just making sure that you know, my mom, anything that I say in there, my mom would be okay with.
What's really interesting is that it's been years since I've personally been locked into watching all the Hard Knocks episodes. I think every once in a while I'll pop one on, but I don't know. For me, after 15 years, it's kind of lost its luster a little bit. That's just me. All right, here's what's not lost its luster: streaming. And you can stream SportsGrid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, simply by scanning this QR code. Take out your phone, and it's available for both iOS and Android. It is the SportsGrid app. We just redid the app within the last 6 months, and you can download it right now for free, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is the SportsGrid app. Make sure you download it for both iOS and Android. We'll take a quick time out here on Newswire. When we come back next, we'll hear from Danny Burke. Don't go away.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I sit with my team that is absolutely, stench. And then I watch the world champs suck this bad. I enjoy every second of it. I hope they lose every night. And, I'm really used to losing. It's been going on for 55 years. So I don't want to hear it about your problems with that cushy Dodger ownership group.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, Danny Burke is going to have to really focus on these handful of games today over at Odd Shopper, because that's what we're faced with as the Major League Baseball season gets ready for its final 60 games. Danny, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. And, certainly we could start off with one team going one way, another team going another way. It's a 1:10 Eastern game. We've got the Cleveland Guardians at home taking on the Baltimore Orioles. So far, so good for Cleveland. I would expect the Orioles, Danny, to look much different next week. What do you think about today's game?
Yeah, this is one of those tricky spots, Craig, because traditionally when you're a team like Baltimore and we're looking at it from a betting standpoint and you're on this losing streak right now, you're probably figuring that they could bounce back. However, it's a little bit different for a couple of reasons. One, because as you're alluding to, they're in a unique situation to where clearly they're most likely going to be sellers at the deadline. I mean, their season's been done for quite some time. And then secondly, you look at who's taken the bump in Charlie Morton, just a aging pitcher who you cannot rely on whatsoever. I mean, his numbers have been horrendous this season. And it's not like Logan Allen on the other side for the Guardians has been that much better, but enough to justify still backing the Guardians, if anything, in this specific situation. It's like, you're just riding the wave of fading this team in Baltimore that's just crumbling before our eyes. And again, most often you'd want to be on the other side in this type of circumstance, but Baltimore's in this brutal situation to where I actually think the valuable play here would be with the Guardians laying about -120 is where I got it. So if you could get it there to about -125, I do like backing Allen and the Guardians to keep that win streak going.
Yeah, certainly Morton could be on the trade block, as I would think he plays the final month of his career here or two. But I mean, he said that before. He keeps coming back. I don't get it, Danny. All right, so in the American League East, we wake up this morning, and for the first time, we see Toronto as a -130 favorite to win this division. It was, hanging around 110, 120. It's pushing up. They're playing great baseball. And the challenge they have this weekend is the biggest one of the season. They got to go to Detroit. Of course, this is a 6:40 Eastern game, as the Blue Jays are in first and the Tigers are in first. And the odds makers are telling us it's simply that close. Detroit's having a hard time scoring runs. Toronto's hitting great. So what happens this weekend?
Yeah, man, I like the hot streak that the Blue Jays are on right now, taking 2 out of 3 against the Yanks, coming off that series, the way their offense has been clicking. I'm going to ride their momentum and think that they could overcome, at least in this first spot against Reese Olson, who, again, solid numbers like much of the Tigers pitching staff. Olson with a 2.71 ERA. Expected ERA a little bit higher, but still solid at about 3.66. You look at this offense from Toronto from the last month against righties, number one in weighted runs created plus, or at about 130 in that regard. And then you look at who's pitching. Eric Lauer, the southpaw for them, 2.80 ERA. His FIP at 3.34. Solid numbers across the board with his BABIP, and then home run to fly ball ratio is around 8%. And as long as you're sub 10%, you're doing fine. So he's pretty comfortably under that mark. And, his numbers have maybe gotten a little bit of a boost because he came out of the bullpen for some of these games he's played in. But even when he started, he's produced quality outings. So I really like this plus price here with the hotter offense, with a quality pitcher in Lauer. And I'm going to go with Toronto at about plus 114 is where I snagged them on the money line.
Danny, do you think the Tigers' number shooting down all the way to 93.5 for their season win total on FanDuel is a fair number here? Remember, it was just a month ago they were projected to win 100 games. Do you think there's value in taking the over there at this point, or the Tigers regress basically to who they are, which is probably right around that number, if that's what the odds say?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I do think, in the sense of what we saw in the first half, they were inevitably going to come back down to earth to some extent. I think with a lot of these teams we saw get propped up and exceed our expectations to a certain degree, we're going to fall back down. I'd maybe wait just a little bit if you want to take that over with the Tigers, because again, this could be a grueling series for them. And, and during this slight losing streak that they're on, if that persists, then you're going to get a better number throughout the next week. And then you can attack the over. We know how great their pitching is. We need to see if their offense can sustain it and aid that pitching staff. So I would wait a little bit, but I don't hate the idea of trying to get that better number and then pouncing on the over.
A's and Astros tonight. You may say to yourself, well, Houston's way better than Sacramento. Why are the odds only minus 120? Well, this is the number 5 starter starting for Houston today, and Tyler Alexander. I mean, I guess, Danny, there's no threat of Luis Severino being traded because of the factors that exist with the money that he's getting paid and the performance that he's had. There are some that are speculating that maybe this is his last start. Maybe the A's eat some money to move him. If that's the case, I would love the A's tonight, because these pitchers usually perform when they know they have a chance to get out of there, and Severino's made that perfectly clear. But I don't know that there's a taker for him at that number.
I agree with you. I don't really sense that he's someone that's going to be heavily sought after, and perhaps I'm proven wrong, but you're right. I mean, that's typically a great approach in terms of the handicap. These pitchers want to prove themselves, or any of these, higher tier players really want to showcase themselves and get off these cruddy teams, find themselves on a postseason roster, and then work their contract from there on out. But yeah, it's a little bit of uncertainty with Severino. And even still, I mean, his numbers a tad bit shaky, not horrible, but not someone that I'm consistently looking to back, especially against this Astros offense that we know lit it up toward the end of the first half of the season. Looking to see that if they can transition that into the latter half of this year. I like the over at 8.5. Like you said, you get a pitcher in Alexander, bottom of the rotation for Houston, and then Severino, a bit volatile. And even if he's off a little bit, I still think Houston can capitalize. So if you can still get 8 in the hook for the total and you're laying, upwards to minus 120, I think that's fine here. I think we see both offenses come alive in this being a higher scoring bout. So I like over 8.5 between these two teams.
All right, over on that play. Now, Danny, let's talk a little revenge match here. UC Kikuchi pitches tonight against his old team. And by the way, he's done a nice job for the Angels. They haven't really supported him run-wise, but his ERA about 3 this season, faces off with Logan Evans, who's done a nice job filling in on Seattle as a starter this season. As you can see, it's more or less a coin flip game, minus 120. The Angels are favored. They seem to be, a week ago, it felt like we heard, hey, maybe the Angels hang around. Maybe they push the foot down a little and go for it. Can't see that now. I don't know. Not playing great baseball.
No, there's certainly not. But, based on this matchup, if there is a time to back him, it seems like it's going to be this one. And I don't really like laying a price with the Angels or necessarily Kikuchi. And don't get me wrong, Kikuchi's numbers are fairly strong. I mean, like you said, his ERA in that 3 mark, 3.13, but some of his underlying metrics a tad concerning. And from what I've seen in the past, it's just something that irks me the wrong way with Kikuchi. Kind of has that Kyle Hendricks vibe, where if his stuff isn't moving effectively enough, he could absolutely get creamed. To be fair, we haven't seen it that often this year. I just still have that in the back of my mind. But he's got that 4.26 expected ERA, and his xFIP is over 4, which again isn't completely alarming. And I think he can get away with it tonight against this lackluster offense in Seattle that the last month against Southpaws just has a 92 weighted runs created plus. So, yeah, I think it's warranted that the Angels are the favorite in this spot. I actually would gravitate toward taking them. Don't know if I'm officially going to get there, but I would cap things off with taking a strong look at the Angels to bounce back tonight against the Mariners.
Finally, let's end with the Padres taking on the Cardinals. Both teams trying to stay alive in this race here. And after watching the Padres, Danny, the last few days here in South Florida, I mean, it's the narrative that has been played all season is playing itself out. They've got the talent. They're not hitting. I don't know why they're not. And, Cardinals have Sonny Gray on the mound tonight. I'm assuming that would be good. Man, if you told me Darvish pitched 5 innings and gave up 2 runs, this seems like a rock solid under to me at 8.5. But, I mean, Darvish, this could be his last start with the team, Danny. I mean, the Padres are not going to go into the postseason run with Darvish posting an ERA over 6 down the stretch. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, I certainly got confidence in Sonny Gray as most people would, but the lack of the sample size we've seen from Darvish and just not getting that strikeout rate in that small sample size concerns me a little bit. But we know, speaking of volatility, as I mentioned, the Cardinals offense certainly can be attributed to that. So I like your angle with the under, would definitely take a look at that and lean a little bit toward the Cardinals. However, it's kind of getting a little bit steep with their price. So it might be a good in-game spot. If it's going to be a lower scoring affair, look for a better spot on the Cardinals if you can get it mid-game.
All right. Love the analysis, Danny. Thanks again for coming on Newswire. Really appreciate it.
You bet, Craig. Take care.
All right. We'll be right back with Adam Kaufman talking some NFL odds right after the break. Don't go away.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I sit with my team that is absolutely, stench. And then I watch the world champs suck this bad. I enjoy every second of it. I hope they lose every night. And, I'm really used to losing. It's been going on for 55 years. So I don't want to hear it about your problems with that cushy Dodger ownership group.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple 18.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. Before we get back to the National Football League, we got Adam Kaufman standing by. He's going to jump in. We'll go over some odds and the latest on this injury to Justin Fields. TMZ is reporting that the most popular professional wrestler in modern-day history, Hulk Hogan, has passed away at the age of 71. This is what they are currently reporting right now. And so naturally, a very, very sad day in sports indeed, as anybody who grew up watching wrestling in the 80s and even in the 90s, certainly Hulk Hogan was one of the most popular athletes in that era as well. So more on that coming up on Scott Farrell's show, Coast to Coast, 3 o'clock Eastern. Now let's bring in Adam Kaufman, of course, of SportsGrid, to go over the latest in the National Football League. Adam, great to have you back here on Newswire and under sort of some strange circumstances. Got this Hulk Hogan death, which I didn't think I'd be talking about with you here on the show. That's number one. And number two, I didn't think I'd be worried about the New York Jets losing their quarterback in like day 2 of camp here, but I guess it is the Jets. I hate to say that, but it kind of is. So is it bad news, good news? It looked like initially maybe something real serious. Now maybe a dislocated toe. How do you feel about that? Does that feel like any missed games to you, or is this a training camp issue? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll address both of these quickly. First on Hulk Hogan, to your point, I mean, an icon, especially if you're of a certain age. I'm in my mid 40s, basically, grew up with Hulk Hogan, as the hero and the American flag, right? And then obviously there was the late career heel turn and what was it, WWO and all of that. And I am a movie junkie too, so I think back to Hulk Hogan. Not that these were the best movies, but like Mr. Nanny and Suburban Commando and things like that. So, obviously, tough day for wrestling fans out there. According to TMZ, apparent cardiac arrests on the heels of some surgeries that he had recently. There were even reports that his wife had denied that he was in a coma for the last few weeks. So, obviously, more details are going to come out there, but big loss, huge loss for the wrestling community. As far as whether the Jets have a huge loss to their quarterback room, I think to your point, time will tell on this one. Aaron Glenn, of course, the first-year head coach, said he didn't want to speculate, especially beyond, apparently maybe a teammate stepping on Justin Fields' foot, but he had to go back, look at the film. They have scheduled an MRI. It's hard to say right now, almost impossible to say right now, whether this is just a very minor training camp injury or something more significant. Naturally, when you see the initial reports before it mentioned the toe and you read, Justin Fields carted off the field and he did walk to the locker room after he was carted off under his own power at that point in time. But, you're thinking the worst, right? First, you're wondering, is it a non-contact injury? Is it a knee injury? Is it an Achilles injury? What's the situation? And if he is out, if we jump to the worst case scenario, your backup right now as it exists in New York is going to be Tyrod Taylor, who really hasn't been a regular starter since his time with Buffalo almost a decade ago at this point, a journeyman since. Hopefully that's not the case. I'm sure that the Jets would look to go out and, find someone, attempt to make some sort of a move if the most dire of circumstances are here. But Justin Fields, first of a 2-year deal, they just signed him on the heels of the Aaron Rodgers experiment. I'm sure Jets fans are just feeling like they've got the worst luck ever at the quarterback position, and it would be hard to disagree with that sentiment. But what I will say above all of this, Craig, is this is a kind of top-heavy AFC East. Everyone assumes that Buffalo, Super Bowl contender to win the AFC, long favorite to win this division. It's theirs to lose. But after that, New England, very soft schedule. Second year of Drake May, new head coach in Mike Vrabel, new offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels. They add Stephon Diggs. I think a lot of people, including the Vegas odds makers, have the Patriots penciled in as second in that division. And then just from a talent standpoint, you look to Miami. So I think the Jets were a last place team in this division regardless, but obviously it gets much worse if they don't have Justin Fields.
Yeah, certainly 21 to 1 to win the division. This could go a number of different ways. And Adam, you're 100% right to speculate on this stuff. There are some, I'm reading about this, there are some dislocated toes that are just dislocated. They're put back and then he's back in a week or two. There are some that require surgery, which means 4 to 6 weeks, which means regular season time. But for us to do that at 11:49 Eastern on the day that this just happened is impossible. Again, Scott Coast to Coast will have that at 3 o'clock, and Adam, I'm sure, on some of the in-game live shows. All right, let's talk age in the NFL. And certainly we have some teams in the NFL this season going in with some youth, and we have some teams that are older as well. The 5 oldest teams in the NFL seem to be the teams, Adam, honestly, they're going for it right now. That would include the Washington Commanders, who added some veterans in the offseason at 27 years old. The Steelers adding Aaron Rodgers at 26, the 49ers pushing the pedal down. Same with the Houston Texans. Do you think that's a factor at all for teams as we go in? And by the way, it could be slanted a little bit on the Steelers side too, with one guy who's the oldest player in the league or close to it.
Yeah, I think when we're talking about some of these quote unquote older teams, which of course, as you noted, averages out over an entire dozens of players long roster, I don't worry about teams that ultimately have the younger quarterback, which is obviously the most important position on the field. So whether you're talking about Washington with Daniels, or you're talking about Atlanta now with Penix, or you're talking about Houston with Stroud. Pittsburgh, though, I was talking with Mark Zinno yesterday. He's very high. Thinks, on Pittsburgh, thinks there's a chance that the Steelers, could even win that AFC North. For me, I'm just not a believer. I think that this is the year that the Mike Tomlin, he's never had a losing season streak, actually comes to an end. I think we're looking at 7-8 wins out of Pittsburgh. Obviously, would need to get to 9 to secure himself another. 500 doesn't exist anymore, but another winning year. I just think that there are a lot of unknowns. Yes, there's a ton of talent, especially defensively on that team. And Tomlin's a good head coach, but we don't know. Like, how committed is Rodgers? And he's in his 40s. I know he was good in the second half of the last year, very good for the Jets. DK Metcalf, what's that going to look like? George Pickens is gone. And so, you're really leaning offensively on two guys in particular to carry you in a competitive division, near the top. I just don't see it. I think Pittsburgh's in for a tough year.
We had a lot to cover, Adam, here today. We didn't get to nearly half of it, it looks like, because of all the stuff happening in sports. But appreciate your commentary, and thanks for coming on the show.
Of course.
Adam Kaufman with us. TMZ reporting Hulk Hogan has died at the age of 71.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
I sit with my team that is absolutely, stench. And then I watch the world champs suck this bad. I enjoy every second of it. I hope they lose every night. And, I'm really used to losing. It's been going on for 55 years. So I don't want to hear it about your problems with that cushy Dodger ownership group.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of 15.5 points live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Newswire. TMZ is the first to report that WWE and WWF former superstar Hulk Hogan, arguably the most popular wrestler of all time, if not for our generation, the last 40, 50 years, has passed away at the age of 71. Hogan, according to these reports, has had some health issues over the last month or so, but certainly the most recognizable professional wrestling figure, I would guess, of all time. So stay tuned, Scott Farrell, Coast to Coast. I'm sure we'll have more on that at 3 o'clock Eastern. All right, we wrap up the show today with a Little League Baseball, some updates on Christian McCaffrey on the NFL field, and not a great look for the Cleveland Browns reveal on their new helmet. Time now for some last licks. All right, would you believe that there is a little leaguer in New Jersey who is currently in court fighting a suspension that he has been given for bat flipping after a home run? It was a pretty epic backflip if you did see the video. Now, this young man was ejected for unsportsmanlike conduct, frustrating the family, which says that Little League promotes bat flipping on its social media and during the Little League World Series. Now, I can speak to this a little bit, having a son who's playing ball, not at the Little League level, but at the travel baseball level. We just went to Cooperstown, just got back. And it's kind of interesting that in the rules at the parks, it does state that they can throw you out of games and suspend you for future games for things like bat flipping. And so here, look, first of all, and my son did it. He had a home run and he didn't get suspended or anything like that. But I would say this. If it says it in the rules, and this is nowhere in the story, by the way, if it says it in the rules, I mean, they kind of have the right to do this. Do I agree with it? No. But it is within the rules if it states it there. And this kid who hit the home run, I don't know. He may have to just take the suspension because, my son, he said he thought about it too. He knew it was against the rules, but when he did it, he was just hoping for the best. So stay tuned on this one. We'll see if he gets to play in that championship game, I guess. That's the whole big issue here. I found this kind of funny yesterday because of the comments. Social media comments are sometimes the best, and this is one as well. There's a reporter who covers the San Francisco 49ers who, after the first day of 49ers practice, made sure to highlight Christian McCaffrey on the football field. Let me explain this to you because we can't show you the video. Simply put, I don't know if it was Purdy or another quarterback, drops back, throws a little pass to McCaffrey, takes about 5 steps, and then stops. And then, the reporter posts that McCaffrey's looking good on the field. This is not unusual, by the way, for him to do. His name's Lombardi. Totally cool with that. But then the comments on social media, and for those of you who play fantasy football, you know what is coming here. But you're talking about the consensus #1 overall pick in fantasy football drafts going on like 3 or 4 years, maybe even not this past year, but before that, who has seen his fair share of injuries. So no one is truly a believer that McCaffrey is 100% healthy until they actually see it on the football field. But what I find funny is that using this little 3-and-out pass to a running back gets everybody so fired up. I have no idea if McCaffrey's going to be healthy this season. What I do know is he's still being taken in the first round of fantasy football drafts. And if you don't believe me, just go look at the average draft position. All right, finally, the gift that keeps on giving, it's the Cleveland Browns, right? They just always find a way to jump into the headlines for the wrong reasons. Browns are unveiling a new helmet for the upcoming season. Actually looks pretty good, and they did it on some sort of body of water, a river, a lake. I don't know what it was. But either way, one of the photographers, it looks like a team photographer, was on top of this little raft. He was taking a picture of the new helmet being unveiled, and he ended up falling off and falling into the water. It was a still photographer. Now, there are some folks who think that this was completely staged and that they wanted it to go viral and they had the photographer fall off. There is no way possible, if you watch the close-up shots of this, that this was intentional. There's just no way. This guy completely loses his footing and falls in the water. And the Browns are in our headlines again. And hey, they made it for all the wrong reasons. But I will say this, the helmet does look pretty cool, and why not? I'm all for these teams trying new stuff to get people more engaged. And funny yesterday, I thought, on social media. Good stuff from Frank sending me that one. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Thanks again to Danny Burke for coming on the program. In addition, Adam Kaufman was on our show talking some National Football League. Matt Lutovsky from Sporting News. Also want to remind you that coming up next, Smiley Kaufman has the latest on the 3M Open. PGA Tour is back this week. Some of the lesser names are still at it, but should be a fun tournament. Followed by Pharrell Coast to Coast with the very latest in Major League Baseball. I'm sure the Justin Fields injury will be updated, as well as this big story that is developing with the passing of WWE, WWF, WCW wrestling superstar Hulk Hogan. Game Time Decisions follows that. In-game live Game Day, and then Sports Rage tonight. That's our rundown. Thanks again to Jake filling in for Luke, and thanks to our producer Frank. I'm Craig Nish. We'll wrap up the week with another edition of Newswire on Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you then.